to France and my shared Apero with friend and Lyon resident Damien. So grab your beverage and jump back into the conversation. Where were we?
Damien, how do we know each other?
No, we actually met in Versailles. And you were here to teach me to become a good tour director. You're actually the first teacher in tourism I've ever had. Sorry.
Oh my God.
And yeah, that was in the Trianon Hotel in Versailles that we met, circa 2013.
Oof. That's crazy that was almost 10 years ago, but we're not going to talk about that. Every time we'd go to Europe, my grandma and I would seek out Magnum bars. And I'm sure it was the chocolate coating or the layer around it that was the best part. And so that was always a thing, like, okay, we're here, we got to go find a Magnum bar. But now you can actually get them in the States. That was just a tradition. We'd get there and we'd have to seek these out because we couldn't find them anywhere else. And now they're just in Target in the freezer section. It's just not as magical anymore. Now, my new tradition is when I go to Europe, I immediately seek out a Kit Kat because the chocolate is way better because it's Nestle, it's chocolate, whereas in the States, I think it's Mars or Hershey. It's Hershey, yeah. It's not as good. It is not as good. So
the first time I encountered Hershey's chocolate, and it was when I worked on Disney Cruise Line, and we had this secret Santa just before Christmas. And I get my gift, and there was in it a chocolate bar, a big Hershey's chocolate bar. I was like, oh, nice. Okay, I like chocolate. And then my secret Santa came over and be like, oh, I hope you like it. I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania. And she's like, hey, you should try it. No. So I open it, I try bite. And of course, I was polite. Oh my goodness, this is so good. You're right. It's excellent. Thank you so much. And at first it was fine, but then this aftertaste, I refer to it as the Hershey's aftertaste, kicked in. And I was just like, I cannot eat that. But because I told her, because I lied, and that's a good life lesson for you kids if you're watching, because I lied, every time she would get in port, she would bring me back a small Hershey's chocolate bar.
Oh no.
Yes, which was the sweetest thing ever.
Yeah.
But then my roommate liked them, so I had them on. But yeah.
What are you doing right now, basically, with the pandemic going on? What's your daily routine?
Right now, I am staying home, as I should, and I am keeping myself busy. So I had one tour this season, at the beginning of the season, that got stopped by the confinement. And then I stayed home and I started, watching TV, and I finished Netflix. So I'm very proud. I got a medal.
You finished Netflix? Like it's just...
Yeah, I finished Netflix, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's got... Yeah.
How do you think people around you in the city of Lyon, for example, are reacting? Are most people handling it well? Are the people following the rules, so to speak? So
the French people, at first when the confinement was announced, didn't react very well. If you know some French people, we're not very good at following rules, and we're very good at finding loopholes. I think that's a common trait in France. So when the confinement was first announced, the next day the streets were packed. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and the parks were packed. Everybody going on with their life. The shops had been ordered to be closed, non-essential, but everybody was out there. And that's when the government was like, you don't get it. You need to stay home. And they then the next day gave us a 24-hour notice saying that we were starting a confinement, which we ought to stay at home unless it's an emergency or one of the reasons listed below, and that everybody had to go to where they're going to stay for the confinement. We don't know how long it's going to stay. So, for example, there was many students in Paris that are living there in their 100 square foot, little apartment, that were rushing to go out to the countryside with their parents. And from Tuesday the 17th of March at noon, where you are is where you stay. And as I say, you can go out for a few things, which is going to see a doctor or any medical emergency, going to a supermarket, food shopping, or pharmacy. You're allowed to go work out outside and also helping someone in need. And we actually have to fill a form, which was quite interesting first, because all of a sudden, if I want to walk outside, I cannot just go walk outside. I have to fill in a form, because if I get stopped by the police and I don't have my form, or it's not filled right, or I'm abusing the allowances, I can get $150 fine. And then it goes
$150 or euros.
Yeah.
Wow.
135 euros. Yeah. Yeah. And then it increases. I think if you get caught 4 times, it's like 3,500 euros, so about $4,000.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. But otherwise, people would not take it seriously. And so at the beginning, it was very well respected. One major problem we had is, since the start of the confinement, we had one cloudy day. Okay, so it's been over 3 weeks, and I'm telling you, every day it's blue sky, beautiful. And as things go on, you can tell people get a little bit more restless about it. And, thinking about all the things it involves, people lose their job, people work from home, people have to take care of their kids. But yes, I'd say generally speaking, French people are respecting, although it really depends more on, I guess, on demographic and where people live. It's not the same.
I actually read an article the other day was saying about how they'd taken some cars in the TGV, and they only have they'll put 4 patients on gurneys in the train car, spaced out on top of the seats, to go to hospitals that are outside of Paris, or outside. And it wasn't Paris, but outside of the city, because they ran out of room.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Are you seeing a lot of that in all over France, or is it kind of regional?
So there's 2 places really. One of them is the east of France, around Mulhouse, so south of Strasbourg and all that. At the very beginning of the epidemic, there was a big evangelist meeting, a religious meeting with over 60,000 people. Some people came there from Italy, and they brought the virus. So there was a cluster identified at this religious meeting with over 60,000 people in the east of France. And they were then able to retrace all the people that went there and tried to take care of them to contain the epidemic. Today we have the east of France that has so many cases, and Paris as well. And they have indeed, as you mentioned, used the trains, because there's so few trains running right now, to move patients outside of Paris. So there's a real European effort in that. So we've been sending patients to Luxembourg, Germany, and Switzerland, so they can be treated there in their hospitals.
Out of the country. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. There's the health system in Europe is pretty identical, as in we all have this universal healthcare in Europe, and there's also this reciprocity we have. For example, if tomorrow I go to Spain and I break my ankle, and I go into a doctor, into a hospital, because I'm a French citizen, they will not make me pay for the treatment. And so the countries help each other as well in this context of the coronavirus.
So because it goes into taxes, right? You pay a certain tax, and that goes into your healthcare.
Yeah, so the healthcare in France is funded by, first of all, the government paying money in it. And that's going to come out of our income taxes, or all the VAT taxes we pay. Keeping in mind that, for example, in France, we have 20% VAT, value-added tax. We don't have any local state taxes, as you may have in the US, and different amounts going directly to the state. In France, it's all going to the government, and it's going to be this flat rate of 20%. So they use that. And after, when you work, let's say my salary is 2,000 euros, my employer will pay 3,500 euros. And in that, there's going to be lots of taxes going towards unemployment, retirement, and my healthcare as well.
And then from that, does France contribute then to sort of like the European Union healthcare system? Like, how does that work to where it covers you in other countries?
So there is not a European healthcare. It's just this reciprocity agreement.
Okay.
I will take care of your people if you take care of mine. We're very fortunate with that, with the healthcare in general, because healthcare in Europe in general, but especially in France, is not up for negotiation. You know, it is normal for us that we receive healthcare from the government. We're paying for it as well. It's not just a gift as it. And the healthcare is very important to us because we see also the duty of the government to keep us safe from sickness. If you look at any election in France, like the presidentials are coming next year, you will never see anybody discuss healthcare as in the system is the way it is. It costs a lot of money, but we like our system, and it keeps people from being worried at any level about being able to afford healthcare or receiving the right healthcare due to their income.
Yeah. Is there, just to play devil's advocate here, is there like one thing that you wish were better that you don't like about the healthcare system?
Some things could always be better. One of the things that people may complain about is, because I've been myself in a fair amount of health issues that took me to the doctor and to the hospital and all that. What people would complain about is the fact that it takes time to have an appointment. Okay, and the public hospitals, they're not state-of-the-art hospital. Okay, once again, we're talking about publicly funded hospitals. I walk in, I can stay there for 3 weeks, for a month, for 2 months, have all the MRI and PET scan and all those expensive things that happen there. I walk out paying zero. So the appointments, for example, that most people complain about, if my doctor tells me, Damien, for whatever condition you have, you need to get this exam done. And it's quite like, let's say an MRI, okay? You need to get that done by the time I see you in 6 months. If you call to get the appointment, they will give you an appointment in maybe 4 or 5 months because you're not an emergency. Now, when I was into hospital for myself and I had to get this MRI, I was in the hospital with the doctor. He decides we need to get an MRI. The next morning at 8 a.m., I was in the MRI having my test. So there's really a they really prioritize appointment.
That makes me want to drink.
Yeah, cheers to that. Santé.
Santé. Well, so if anyone needs a guide in France, they can contact you, right?
Yes, please. If you want to come and visit France, I think we have a beautiful country, and I think there's a lot to learn about it, and more than just the buildings and all that. Just understand more the culture, understand how French people truly are. Because I'm not going to go there. I once was helping someone, and they told me, "Oh, Damien, you're so nice. Thank you. Where are you from?" "I'm from France." "Oh, we've always heard that French people hate Americans." And that was Damien, 22 years old, back in the time, hearing that for the first time. And ever since, I've made it my mission to make sure everybody knows that they are loved and welcome, and that there is no hatred against anybody. And that if you get to know the real French people, you'll see how lovely they are.
And I will drink to that. Anyway, Damien, merci beaucoup for
Thank you for having me.
To share an apéro with me. Stay safe and
Thank you.
Be well.
Bonsoir.